Hello, my name is Amanda, and welcome to Back to the Heart, a podcast for self discovery, healing, and embracing true freedom. And I invite you to join me as we embark on a transformative journey back to your heart, where we get to choose love over fear. Welcome back to the Heart. In today's episode, I'm joined by Chelsey Hawkins to dive into the incredible power of words, breath, and self-trust. We talk about breaking free from old programming, conscious parenting, living in freedom, and using language to create the life that you truly want. This conversation is packed with wisdom and inspiration, so let's get into it. Welcome, Chelsey.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Tell us about your background and your journey.
It's been a almost 20-year journey of getting to this point, and each level has been a new unlocking of freedom for me. It really started when we became entrepreneurs, and I've always worked outside of like the normal 9 to 5. I was in a much more creative field, teaching dance in my university years. Then I had the opportunity to work with our family business, which allowed me to stay home with my children. There was this shift when I became a mother. I had the opportunity to move into the family business and stay at home and not have to find care for my children. I was the care for my children. That was the beginning of me learning I can create whatever I want and take ownership over my time, which is the most valuable currency we have. And if I want to go to the beach on Wednesday, I can. It was a beautiful, like, unlocking of, oh, this is available. And I did go through what I like to call indoctrination station. I was the best student. I got straight A's, never missed a homework assignment. I went to university. I did all of the things that they said was the plan. Do X, Y, and Z, and this is it, and you're going to be successful. When I finished university, I realized I don't want to do any of this. I have a degree in criminology and psychology, and I don't want to do any of the jobs that this is related to, but I was so curious and interested in it. I really loved the detective part of it. And that'll all circle back as we get to the end of this where I'm at now. But so it's been a long journey of entrepreneurship and learning that I'm powerful and whatever I want I can create. It's going to take some grit, but it's available. And the longer you spend doing that, the more tied you are to the idea of not giving up your time, of not moving back into a space where your time is controlled. I really started going down the health journey. After I had my second child, I was dealing with some health issues and just not feeling good in my body. And I really started to look at food ingredients. And we own the business, the family business is a food business. So we started really paying attention to all of the ingredients and working hard to make our product line the cleanest possible. In doing so, I started recognizing that a lot of the food out there is poison.
Oh
and
my
most
God.
Yeah, most of it is. The large majority of that's being marketed is poison. That was the beginning of a tangent that brought me really interested into all of the health related aspects. And so these are all little paths that are happening along the way. And then COVID hit. COVID is one of those events that's like there's before COVID and after COVID.
Right?
At this point I was really health aware, and I was not believing the stories about how to keep myself healthy. I'd already gone on my healing journey and I knew what was best for myself and my family. That led me into coaching. It really transitioned our food business out of regular schedule. We were one of the industries that was affected the most because we were generally working at events, farmers markets, trade shows, festivals, and all of those closed down for 2 years. And I was like, wow, I am not doing all the other regular things that I would normally be doing. That's when I started diving into breathwork. And I finished my breathwork certification beginning of COVID. And then I was working with clients doing life coaching and not understanding that the words were so important. I was working with people, but I didn't have like a clear formula, strategy, format. And we were actually on a road trip to Alberta. We were leaving BC because we couldn't go anywhere. Alberta was open. So we could go to the mall, we could go to restaurants. So we were like, okay, we're on a road trip to Alberta. We're listening to the Paul Chek podcast because I had deep dived all of Paul Chek all through COVID. I actually started my integrative health practitioner certification during that time too. So I was right in the mud of all of it. I happen upon Mark and Kimberly on Paul Chek, and they're talking about words. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been working with clients like this already. But this is a very specific formula. Like this simplifies it and gives me a format. I'm like, this is exactly what I've been doing, but just precise and so simple for people to understand. I listened to the whole podcast. We got to Alberta and I said to my husband, I think I need to do this thing. And he was like, well, yeah, I think I need to do this thing. He's like, what is this thing? I'm like, I don't know. He listened to the podcast with me, but he was like, well, what is the course? And I'm like, I don't know. He's like, oh, but I have this feeling like I want to do this. And so the level 1 cert was starting in like 3 days and we were going to be road tripping around Alberta. And I was like, yeah, this is it. I'm going to just hop in the very last minute, like the last person, I'm coming. And that's when I started doing the lifted certs. And from there, I've been hooked because it's clear strategy of using your words to create exactly what you want. And I was like, I was already doing this in my life because I had learned that I could, but I didn't have the precise toolkit. Mark often says like his ninja sword. Like I didn't have that to do it so crisp and clear. By this point, my son had gone to school till partway through grade 3. He went to school at the beginning of COVID. And as soon as COVID hit, we pulled him because I was like, we're not going to do any of the COVID things. So we're not going back. But he had already been told at that point that he had a learning disability. They didn't know what it was. I'm like, he's just not meant for school, not meant for this style of learning. My daughter never went to school. So we were homeschooling, unschooling. And I was like, this is perfect. This is a clear strategy that I can teach my children. They can learn that they can create whatever they want. I want that for them so they know. As we were going through all of that, I was spelling on us all the time. Manifestation, literally writing things down and having it come into fruition. This is magic. This is what I want. This is exactly what I'm here for. That's brought me to where I am right now, helping people clear their bodies. The integrative health practitioner comes into play along with breath work, removing the stagnant energy. And then we are working the stories and the words and getting clear on what they actually want so that they can go and do the thing and get the thing and create the lives that they want outside of society's programming. They're inputting their own programming. And that's where we're at today.
It's really powerful to see the breath work incorporated into the words and the spelling and the language. It's incredible to see how trapped our breath does get in our bodies with the stories. Breath work has been a powerful thing for me too. I've had different guests on previous episodes that have talked about breath work, and it's one of those modalities to help you get into the space of stillness and be able to listen and feel into what actually needs to happen. So many people are like, oh, I have a hard time making a decision. I don't know what to do. Your head gets in the way. But when you really tap in, like you said, and especially as a mother, to feel into yourself and like, this is not what I want for my children.
Mm-hmm.
And that's incredibly powerful and freeing to see that in someone, to get back to ourselves and get back to the heart, to be able to trust yourself. I think so many people shy away from listening to themselves and think that they're supposed to listen to what somebody else's story, whether it's their parents, their neighbors, their church, their news story. It's so liberating to get back to that place where you can trust yourself, to take care of yourself with your physical body, your emotional wellness, and that of your family too. The programming that all the boxes are checked. You get married and you have kids and you send them to school and you do this job that you hate and then you come home. All these stressors, that's not actually the path you have to take. There are other options. I love that story. That's incredibly powerful.
Yeah, I really resonate with I talk to my children all the time. All you need is your breath. Everything else from there will get sorted. We talk about who do you want there in an emergency? It's the person who has their
Yeah.
breath low and slow because they're the ones who can access the information. They're present. I talk to the children all the time. If you're in a spot where things are feeling dicey, just stop and breathe. And so you can get your wits about you and you can find yourself again and you'll know what to do. You'll know what to do, but you can't when you're locked up and panicking, right? Panic is the first stage of death. This is something that I also say to them. If you can get your breath about you, you're going to be okay. You'll be able to figure out what to do next. Just like you said, a lot of the world has bought into the story of externalizing everything. All of my decisions are external. My health decisions are external. I have to go ask the doctor. I can't sit into my knowing. I have to go ask somebody else for that. And we're in a remembering period where everyone's coming back to themselves, or a large majority are coming back and being like, wait a second, that actually doesn't resonate. Like, what if I sit and listen to myself? But what do I think about that? And COVID was a beautiful blessing in that it really gave people time to think about their thinking and to think about what other people were projecting onto them and then make a grounded decision from a place of low and slow breath. It really shook our lives up in a great way.
So many people during that period were put back into a space of quiet and stillness and forced to stay in one place. You can't go anywhere and you can't do anything, or you have to be at home at 8 o'clock. The only thing you could do was go outside. In some places, you couldn't even do that. But people were like, no, I don't want to live that way. How can I get outside and do this more? This is a good transition to what you and your family do where you live. Tell us about that because I think that's
Yeah,
incredible for inspiring other people out there that may be looking to do something like that too.
I didn't recognize that this was one of my core values as I was growing up, but it's become very apparent to me now that freedom has always been at the core, whether or not I recognize that word was what it was, but freedom to have my time, to not be under anybody's thumb, to not be under anybody's rules or regulations. It was always something that I had battled. In 2019, we'd lived in the same house for almost a decade, raised our two kids there, and in 2019, we found out we had to move. Probably the 10 years before that, I would watch Tiny House Living all the time, and I was planting the seeds in my husband's head, like, "We could do this." He was like, "I don't know." Every time I'd be like, "We could do this," and I'd look around my house, and that can go, that thing can go, that thing can go. I had a whole list of everything. I was like, all of it can go. When we found out we had to move, I had been in my daughter's bedroom and I was snuggling her, putting her to bed. We didn't know where we were going to go. It was the dead of winter in Canada. And we had a dog and two kids and all these things. I just came out of her room and I said to my husband, I think this is the time to do the tiny house. I was like, what if we just get rid of everything? Part of it too was dread of moving. I did not want to pack everything. I was like, I don't want to bring any of this with me. And he was like, hmm. And that's when the whole thing started going. It was like end of December. It was the ground was frozen. Everything was cold and freezing. And we had 2 months to liquidate a decade of our lives. We had a regular size house, like a bigger house, two-car garage that was full of stuff, never a car. And I was like, oh boy. We also had a vacation plan. So we literally had 6 weeks to disintegrate everything. We decided to buy a trailer, an RV. If we can live in it for a year and be cool with how it's going, then after that year's time, we will build a tiny house. By that time, we'll know what we need. Tiny houses are you are pretty limited on space, so you want to be sure what you're committing to. And so dead of winter, we walked an RV lot. We were the only people there. Told the guy, like, we're gonna live in this. He was like, and like at this point, this is before COVID, right? Like when COVID happened, people started doing that and it became regular for people to just get rid of everything and live in a van. But before that, everyone looked at me like I was a psycho. Are you crazy? People also thought, are you guys okay? Is everything falling apart? And I'm like, everything's falling exactly into place. And they were like, okay. So we walked the lot. The guy was like, okay, when we told him, and we found one. We're like, this is going to be the one. We bought it. We put it on my parents' property. I told my mom and dad, listen, guys, we're coming back, and this is our plan. And so we parked the trailer on their property and began the liquidation. I kid you not, I walked every piece of furniture we owned out to the end of the driveway. And my husband was like, no one's going to come pick that up. I'm like, yes, they are. And within 5 minutes, someone furnished an entire house because I was keeping none of it. My husband and my two children and our dogs moved into a trailer less than 250 square feet. We lived in that for a year, and that's when COVID hit. We moved in 2019 and COVID hit, and then the COVID hit 2020 spring, and we both looked at each other and we're like, well, this is interesting. We're not going to build a tiny house right now because this is a lot going on. So we just stayed in the trailer. We're happy and we liked that we could tow it
Move.
out at any time, hook it up to
Yeah.
the truck and leave. In spring of 2021, we stopped in to look at some tiny houses. And this is one of those like spells that happened. There was 5 houses and we stopped in, talked to the guy. The only one that would work was apparently sold. And so it is the only one that had 2 lofts. So we were very specific. We had to have a loft for each kid. So they had their own space. And he's like, well, that one's sold. It's already got a $10,000 deposit down on it. And I looked at him, I'm like, well, nothing's sold until it's sold. I'm like, it's still here. And he was like, well, they're coming to pick it up over the weekend. And I'm like, okay. We gave him our card. We're going on a road trip. Actually, this would have been 2022 because it all coincides with Enlifted. It was the same road trip I found Enlifted on that we ended up getting the house. And so we got a phone call. I was in a park and the Connor RV's calling. I'm like, oh, we're getting our tiny house. The guy calls and he's like, so they backed out of the deal. Are you guys interested in the house? And we were like, yes, we want the house. We just spelled it into our lives. And that's when we started actually living in a tiny house, which is not RV style, like built like a house.
How many square feet is it?
It's 250 square feet.
Oh my gosh. That's
Um,
incredible.
we have 3 dogs, one of which is a giant dog. So it's like we all live in one room. Ultimately, when I was saying to my husband, we could totally do this, we were always all living in the same room. We were all in the kitchen. Like we were never far from each other. We went to our separate bedrooms, but other than that, we were always in the same space. So I was like, this is going to be great. And it's been
And
amazing.
that goes back to the core foundation of a family, spending that time together that so many people have gotten away from. What spells or what did you use to drown out that noise of the people around you whenever you're like, you know what? No, I'm tapping into me. I'm feeling this. It may not make sense to you, but I feel that this is what's right for me. Like, what did you say to other people? How did you deal with that?
Yeah, there was so much judgment, especially from a couple of my friends who'd known me since I was a kid, because they had really bought into the story that success is you buy a house and you buy this property, go to your 9 to 5 and you get the car. I was living a life outside of that realm, owning my own business, making my own way. So I had already stepped out and been like, we're living differently. And I always just came back to, I know this is right. I have this gut intuition that this is what's right for us. As I look back, the timing was amazing. It dropped in at the perfect time because of everything that happened after. All of the COVID things that happened. This is exactly what was supposed to happen. And thank goodness I just listened to myself. Collecting the evidence. I had enough evidence of all of the times it worked out when I listened to myself that like I could stack it. And then I had evidence of when I didn't listen to myself and what kind of position it put me in. And I was really getting good at being like, oh, every time I listen to myself, it works. Every time I stay true to myself, I am happier. And so at that point at this and my journey, I had already stacked so much evidence. And I was also like, you know what? As entrepreneurs, my husband and I are super risky. We are not afraid to risk it. We're not afraid to jump, see where we land. And it's a practiced trust in ourselves. So I was like, you know what? We're going to jump. We're going to see what happens. And if it doesn't work, we can always shift. We can always find a place to rent, or we can always, if we decide we want to go buy a
Yeah.
house. But I never wanted to be landlocked. I had watched a lot of people, my friends and family members, lock themselves into a mortgage and the turmoil that it created in terms of them having to do the job they hate to
Yeah.
pay the mortgage. It was just a vicious cycle. And my husband and I were in agreement quite early on, like, we don't want that. We want to be able to go on the trip. Like, I don't want to say I can't go. We have a condo in Hawaii, go to Hawaii often. And I never want to say we can't go to Hawaii because we have to stay and pay the mortgage. Like, that felt tight and constricted. And I want to be
Yeah.
free. So that was always like a baseline for us of ultimately freedom, of being able to make the decision that's true to us and not having to do anything else because of a different story that's not in alignment.
We're at such a completely different place than our ancestors were and our parents' parents for sure. And thinking about the ability to make changes and shifts in their lives is so much more difficult. And it's like now we do have so much freedom
Mhm.
to change jobs, to change where you live, to change partners, to change whatever. It's like this whole idea that if you have to have the same thing for your
Mhm.
entire life or for 20, 30, 40, 50 years is just not reality anymore.
Yeah.
And the ability to make those shifts and to know that you can make a decision and you can also change that decision. You
Mm.
can pivot at any time. And the more you continue to build up that trust muscle and trusting yourself, using the breath work, meditation, whatever modality helps you to get into stillness, to be back into your own heart, to listen to yourself. If we decide to do this and things start to go sideways, we can change. We can get a
Yeah.
different job. We can get a different place to live. People, I think they get into their heads and they think, well, I wouldn't do that. And that's where the judgment comes in.
Mm.
Like, what are you doing? Because they can't even foresee that even being an option for them. So
Mhm.
it's judgment projecting onto you what
Or
they don't have the courage to do. Even the entrepreneurship, like for me, I didn't grow up around a lot of entrepreneurs,
Mhm.
but my limited belief was that the entrepreneurs I saw work their asses off. They never had time to take a break. They couldn't hand over the work to anybody else, but that was them,
Mhm.
and that was their business. So I took a lot of unwinding for me to see that I don't have to live in that rigid formation of if you own a business or work for yourself, you have to struggle all the time. It was like,
Mm.
no, you need, quote unquote, that security of someone else giving you a paycheck, not realizing that that is actually more strapping because like you said, if you've got a mortgage payment of $2 or $3,000 a month, then people get in this feeling of like, well, I can't quit my job because there's the negations, right? I can't
Yeah.
quit because of this. Well, actually, that's not true. You could. And
Yeah.
then people, I can't do this because this is where I live and that's not there. Well,
Exactly. This is it. Right? When people find out how we're living, it really gets their wheels turning because it is not common. Negation acknowledged. It's starting to get more that way. Ultimately, like I said, the freedom is at the core of all of it. I want to be able to do whatever I want whenever I want. And people also, everybody wants that when it comes down to it, right? There's a level of fear, and then the scary stories start ruminating in the head like, all of the bad things that could happen. What if all of the bad things happen? In Unlifted, we always talk about what if all the good shit happens? What if this is the best decision you made? And that's where I had said the evidence is so important because I have evidence that says every time it's the best. and I could just follow that. Something I learned through entrepreneurship is that you pivot all the time. You get so good at riding waves and pivoting and not staying super attached because it can shift drastically. Anybody who was an entrepreneur through the COVID years was really put to the test there. It is this illusion of security. Like when you said, like, like this job is secure. Well, at any moment that job could vanish. Where is your security? It's in you. It's in your breath. It's
Yeah.
you knowing that you're going to figure shit out every time you have that power within you. And that's the biggest security you can create in your life, trusting yourself and knowing that you're going to figure it out and pivot if you have to.
The basic human needs are food, water, and shelter. Shelter being safety, right? And everybody's looking for safety. But in reality, if you really dig into what is safety, safety is freedom.
Yeah.
So when people think this is the safe choice to have this job or to live in this space, is it really that safe if it is chaining you down to something specific? So true freedom is the safety, the freedom to choose.
Exactly.
Love over fear. You get to choose. What is my path going to be? What is the spell that I'm going to create? What
Yeah.
is it that I actually want? And to have the freedom to do that, I think that's incredible.
Anytime somebody talks to me about being fearful about a decision that they're making, like, okay, I'm going to quit this job or whatever it is. And I ask them, I'm like, but fear and excitement, they're energetically like they're the same feeling in your body. Can
Yeah.
you tune in and like see like could that actually be excitement of what that means for your life? Like that
Yeah.
is uh, availability. You can choose to label it fear or you can choose to label it excitement. They have a same energetic feeling when the person's talking about it. And it just gets people thinking about, oh yeah, because they want us scared. They want us in holding patterns because when we're scared, we don't create. When we're
Yeah.
fearful, we don't create. And that's the biggest power we all have is how creative we are. That's
Yeah.
going to help everything shift is getting creative. And that was another beautiful thing that's happened over the last 5 years is people had time to get creative and
Yeah.
pivot and do something different. And so it's one of the most exciting times to be alive. Right.
I agree. If you're ready to rewrite your story and embody your authentic self, book your free 30-minute one-on-one introductory call with me and let's get you back to the heart. Check out the Calendly link in the show notes.
Yeah.
Well, let's shift a little bit then to your kids and tell me what age did you really start using the word work with them? And what are some of the key things that you feel have been really impactful for your relationship with them and them developing as little humans?
My son is almost 14 and my daughter just turned 10. We started working with words really early on, positive affirmations, all of those sorts of things. It's really fun because once they learn the tools, they make sure everybody else stays on track. Right? Because you retain so much more when you are teaching it. Then
Yes.
they teach me. Oh yeah, that was a soft talk word. It's funny because parents often will say like the kids will want answers to something. When can I go to the park? The parent will say maybe we can go afternoon. Kids, if they don't go through a ton of indoctrination, they want the solid answer. I want to know when we're going, what time. It was fun to see that kind of shift and be like, oh yeah, look at how often parents are using soft talk where we're not committing to the plan, but the child is like, we're committing to the plan because this is what I want. When you really start tapping in, kids are so clear. They're so connected. They don't have all the language programming when they're in a young age and they are already masters of language. They'll catch you on it, which is
Yeah.
amazing. We really started utilizing it because both of the kids have their own businesses and building them up to know that they can do the thing, get goal setting and what do they want to create? What do we want to create? What's the goal? How are we going to get there? What's the story that we're telling ourselves as we're moving through that? It creates a level of confidence in them that you can't put a price on. They're so connected. That's how I would describe them. When people meet my children, they're like, "Wow, that kid, he's 13, but he's talking to me like he's 21." Like he's so connected. He can have a conversation. He can look you in the eye. He takes up his space. It's just a different style of education when they're going to school. It's like a child prison. They have to ask for permission for everything. They have to ask to get up. They have to ask to go to the bathroom. They have to ask if they can have a snack. They're literally in a regime. There's no self authority. They can't ever decide for themselves. They have to always ask permission. And as soon as we started, like, especially extracting my son out, he wasn't good at listening to that authority, anyways. He would just do what he wanted. And just really building up that muscle of, no, I actually know what I need right now. I know I need to go to the bathroom, and it's okay for me to get up and go.
That's so simple. Well, I don't know any 10-year-olds or 14-year-olds that have their own business. So clearly something is working in the right direction. So
Yeah.
that's incredible. And I'm sure that is really a proud moment for you as a mom.
That's funny too, because their businesses are like farmers market style businesses. That's
Yeah.
what we help them make because that's what we were doing. They are talking to people all the time. And
Yeah.
one of the things that they get asked all the time, and it's really interesting how this is what people's conceptualization of children is right now. It's like on this really base level because one of the first things they get asked is, "What grade are you in?" They don't get asked anything about themselves. They don't get asked what
Yeah.
their interests are. It's, "What grade are you in?" And then when they tell them that they're not, people are just like, "What? Like, that's crazy. What do you mean?" And my son's like, "Yeah, I don't learn anything at school anyways. I'm learning right now. Like, this is actual real life applied." It was really important for us to show them that they can make their own way if they want to. They can get a job too. They can do whatever they want, but not often do kids get the opportunity to see that they can create something and make income off of it. They're often told to get the education
Yeah.
to get the good job, and then you're always working for somebody else.
So many parents think their intention may be to protect and provide, but it's actually restricting in so many ways to not allow your kid to make their own decisions and to make mistakes and fall down. I mean, it's just like learning to walk. You're going to fall down, and that's okay. You get back up. You'll be there to help hold on to the back of the bike while they're trying to learn, but you got to let it go.
It's like building the muscle of internal authority, like your intuition, letting them do it, letting them practice that because that's something that's been totally stripped from kids as soon as they go to school. It's like you no longer know. Somebody above you knows, and you have to ask them instead of just bringing it right back. Imagine a whole generation of children who are connected to their intuition.
Yeah.
That will change everything. That will world because they're going to grow up and have the faculties and have exercised the muscles to create what they're supposed to create and actually follow their passion, right? Like actually create the thing that they're supposed to in the world, like the invention or the cure or whatever it is. The school just limits them, just tells them to shut down their creative authority and also their intuition. And that's why we have a whole bunch of adults only coming back to it in their adult years and being like, wait a second, it just took me 40 years to figure it out.
People have been telling children for so long, you can do whatever you want to do. You can be whoever you want to be, but it's going to be from this list. Here's how you've got to do it. And it's like, wait a minute, you just said I could do whatever I want, but now you're saying it has to be from this process and this list in this way. People get to their adulthood and they're like, wait a minute, I thought I could do whatever I wanted. This
Yeah.
isn't it. It's this.
Yeah. This is it. The story is not aligning. You're
Yeah,
telling me
it
I
doesn't
can
make
do any,
sense.
but at the same time, you're telling me I have to stay in this limited program.
Yeah.
And I know that it's not going to get me where I need to go. I know that it's not going to take me there. That's where the cycle begins. The cycle starts until you give yourself permission to get out of that cycle and do the thing that you actually want to do. Make the jump, lean into the excitement rather than the fear. You
Yeah,
stay on the hamster wheel.
exactly. I've got a list. I'm going to read off the soft talk words. I haven't actually said these out loud on the podcast, and I'm in my level one certification, so I'm still learning. For anyone that's listening, we've mentioned soft talk a few times, so I want to explain. If you're not going down this Mark England and lifted path, get on the train because we're going that way. So, soft talk are words like probably, perhaps, feels like, yes, maybe, might, possibly, sort of, kind of, potentially, hopefully, try, one day, almost like.
Mhm.
And I think, see, I'm still practicing it, but it's really these words to me, what I see whenever I hear people use these, and especially myself, is it's extra words that have been added into our vocabulary whenever we are uncertain
Mm.
or when we are afraid to make a confirmed decision because of the fear that I may change my mind or that may not be right. I'm not really tapped into myself. I'm not really listening to myself. So, as that has continued to happen over time as adults, right? As you said, children don't use these words. They're very matter of fact, like it is or it isn't. It's not like feels like or probably or hopefully, like we're going to
Mhm.
the park or we're not. Like, yes or no. And as adults, as we've gotten away from our hearts, gotten away from listening and trusting ourselves, listening to all of the monkey brain stuff, all the experiences, all the programming, whether it be at school or family, that we shy away from trusting ourselves. So we're like, well, maybe that could possibly happen. It feels like, no, it is or it isn't. And
Yeah,
it's incredible to see those words and to practice recognizing them, number one. And then second is being affirmative in the words that you speak.
absolutely. Well, it's like you want to get it done. You're going to get it
Yeah.
done. Kids are very sure they're going to do the thing. Be interesting to really look at where that starts shifting, maybe in the teenage years where they're starting to have like somebody might judge me for it. So they're starting
Mhm.
to take in other people's concepts and all of that. But younger children, they have a plan, they're sticking to it, and they want it done. For any parents listening out there, they know they're on you about it. That's what they want. And somewhere along the lines, we shift out of being solid because we're programmed to ask somebody else if it's okay. Ask for permission. I think
Well,
I
and
can.
if as a parent, you're not confident in yourself, your decisions, your authority, and the words that you're speaking to your children, how can they become confident in themselves? They're watching and learning everything
Mhm.
from their parents. And I can see how incredibly powerful it is. I'm telling the stories that I heard and learned my whole life. And not that, both my parents are great parents, right? I mean, they were doing what they knew and using the language that they knew. But it was very confusing in so many ways. And I'm learning to untangle that and reprogram. So if there's parents out there that can be learning this stuff and teach it to their kids at a young age, then it's less untangling and less inner work they have to do as they get older.
Absolutely. Like all the healing that we do passes on generations forward and healing generations behind us. But as we're healing and working on our stories and working our language, our children can too. And we're doing the work for them. They're learning their own inner guidance and their own inner faculty, and they're standing in their authority. That's how it's going to change the world. That's how everything's going to shift because eventually the pendulum will swing and we'll have people who are standing in their power and making decisions from a grounded place with their breath. And that's what we need in the world.
It's exciting to be alive right now because I am seeing that more and more people are making those decisions and going that path. If it's a different quantum leap, a different love playing field that we're on, fine, I'm ready. I want to be there. I want to stay there. Let's do what we can to get back to ourselves and take care of our own families and just keep moving forward.
Exactly. Creating our best lives and having fun,
Yeah.
having
Yeah.
an adventure, doing fun, exciting, cool shit with good people. Like it doesn't have to be complicated.
when you go by that exact rule book of here are the things you're supposed to do, and here's the path that you're supposed to take, and you work this type of job and do all of that created a time for no play.
Mhm.
It was like, here's what it is. And if the activity or action that you desire to do doesn't have a specific purpose to save time, to make money, whatever outcome, if it's just to have fun, it's something you enjoy, something to create without expectation, then that's where the real alignment comes in and the real purpose. And people get to get back to their hearts and really love what they're doing. So
Yeah,
many people have gotten away from doing stuff just because. You don't need a reason, just do it.
exactly. This is live,
Yeah,
be,
yeah.
experience, right? What are we ultimately all here to do? We're here to have experiences. It's magical here. We get to tap back into that, right? We get to use our stories and our words to tap back into the magic, our own magic. Everyone has full of magic. We've just forgotten how magical we are. We've forgotten how powerful we are. There's a story that wants to keep us suppressed, but we're starting to be like, wait a sec. That's not the vibe.
Thank you so much, Chelsey. This has been a fabulous conversation. Is there anything that you want to leave the audience with?
Take the time to sit and listen to yourself and breathe and come back to your center. It might take practice. Everything in your life is created from you. It's created from your center, your heart and your breath. Keep coming back to that and checking in. It's like untapped magic. Start tapping back into it and you can create whatever you want. The story that they told you, you can be anything you want. You can create whatever you want. We just get to come back to it and start taking action on it and do the things.
That's beautiful. Write it your own way, make your own story.
If you're ready to shift your language, trust yourself, and step into your authentic self, I would love to support you. Book your free 30-minute intro call at the Calendly link below in the show notes. Let's get you back to the heart.